Yo, 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 everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of Modded Darkest Dungeon. We're here in the Madness Estate to do another showcase of a modded class. Today, we're going to be checking out the absolute unit himself, Bismarck the Rampart. This dude is really, really fun. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of Modded Darkest Dungeon. We're here in the Madness Estate today to take a look at a older class rather than a newer class or work in progress class for today's showcase. That was a loud that was a mouthful. But anyways, we're going to take a look at the absolute unit himself, Rampart, aka Bismarck. Now this dude, this lovely individual, is part of a thematic line of classes called the Ostfinger Empire. If you're not familiar with the Ostfinger Empire, they're the prominent, I guess, center point of, well, not really center point, but they're a prominent feature in Black Reliquary, which is a overhaul mod based off of Darkest Dungeon, which takes place in another region, but it's more Middle Eastern, stuff like that, desert. You got Cactinids, Wildlanders, Troglodytes, the Kavrats, this, that, and the other. And Ostfinger are kind of eldritch, kind of Magatech, but with an eldritch twist to it, and that's what this big lad is all about. So, to kind of start off the showcase, I'm going to read off his blacksmith description, his guild description, and the camp skill trainer, the survivalist description. And then I'm going to go over the overview on his mod page. But just for quick reference, I'm going to throw up the credits of all the people that worked on this mod. And this mod is hosted and prominently led by Cryptics, who asked me to kind of, if I had any recent showcases of Rampart, which I kind of did, but I couldn't really find it. And the earliest one I could find was when the guy was still in work in progress phase. So I decided, hey, let's do a proper showcase of the big lad, because I really like this class. He's really fun, and he plays around with 4 different modes. Well, 4 with a trinket. But anyways, let's go ahead and get right to some reading. Alright, here we go. Now, for this showcase, we're going to do something a little bit different, because the mod page itself is actually really well done, and I want to show some of the art that's on here. So, first up, we have his header, his little banner picture here, really nice. Some of his trinkets. This is a really good trinket, by the way. The Death's Vestige, I think it's called, which really makes his adaptive assault really good. Then a couple of screenshots. That's Terminator mode, or Terminator Protocol. There's his free action guard. Some adaptive assault in action here against the Raiju, of all things. His Investigate Sprite camps, or at camp, with a couple other modded heroes of the Ostfinger faction. Now let's get down to the rest of the thing. As I said, this was primarily headed by Cryptics, with Soggy Pizza doing most of the artwork. This mod is for Darkest Dungeon only. There's a Black Reliquary version that can be found here. So this class was originally intended for Black Reliquary, but it also had the Darkest Dungeon port, which is really nice. And here's some of the artwork I was talking about. Look at this. Doom guy vibes here. The Rampart, uncertainty is death. You can see the Black Reliquary in the background there. You can see the Iron Crown. Class mod for Darkest Dungeon / Black Reliquary. Cryptic Soggy Pizza as Purple Wellington McSkeleton. They've done a lot of stuff like Swine Scavenger, Cerebral Cloud 92. A lot of people will recognize that name. Vintage Shape Hosting, Nagant, and Halola. And here's the overview. The Rampart is an ancient war machine of Ostfinger, one that has watched the Empire's expeditious rise, and there when it finally collapsed. Following the fall, it continues to execute the last command given to it by the Kaiser. Kaiser? Eliminate the scourge of eldritch corruption, no matter where it may be found. The Rampart is a versatile frontline tank with a variety of combat options. To ease the load on its aging cognitors, its diverse arsenal is separated into several protocols. These protocols, Conservator, Terminator, Regulator, and through a special trinket, Apocalypse, offer increased defense and support, priority target elimination, crowd control, and stress management respectively. A wise use of protocols can make the Rampart the perfect tool for any situation, but misjudging what your party needs at the moment can leave it fumbling and on the back foot. So basically, he jumbles between 3 different modes, and I'll get into that when I cover his skills. Here's some of his combat skills. You have Adaptive Assault, Iron Curtain, Hold the Line, Excessive Force, Explosive Recoil, Sonic Suppression, Riot Control, and then additional skills. He has a free action skill called Reboot, which he activates that. He debuffs himself, but he's able to enter another protocol. And then Bastion, this will not show up in his character screen. This replaces his move action. It's a free action guard with a cooldown of 2 rounds. This is where some of the Rampart's really strong aspects come from. On top of his high HP and high resistances, he's very good at being a man-at-arms replacement, basically. He's very good at what he does. Let's see, camping skills, they will not die, reconfirm protocols, Decades of War, Kaiser Guard's Vigil, and then additional information. The Rampart is non-religious. There can only be 1 Rampart per party. That's not... So, this is not for lore reasons or balancing reasons. This is mostly due to coding reasons. There's a bit of back-end stuff that he's fiddling around with that if you have 2 Ramparts in the same party, things will kind of start breaking apart at the seams. That's why a lot of these more quote-unquote advanced classes will have some of that. And it's a testament to a lot of the intricacies that Rampart has. His canon name is Bismarck. His critical effect gives him plus 15% proc. He can only become super critical when afflicted. He cannot virtue. He belongs to the training ring district, and he has complete English and simple Chinese localization. And now for the credits, we have Cryptics for the programming, design, and animation. We have Soggy Pizza for the art, Vintage for helping with design support, Cerebral Cloud 92 for additional design support, Shay Wellington for sounds, S Purple for the original concept and additional assets. And then play testing for Iris, Battle Demper 35 for Metsu or Ment, Hello World, Scalushu, Zahara, that's me, Jack, and then translation 54 NBB for the simple Chinese. So, like I said, I helped play test this back in the day as well. And then you have the legal mumbo jumbo and all the comments. Anyways, let's get right to the writing of his, the blacksmith, survivalist, and the guild, and all that stuff. Alright, here we are at the guild. So, a brutal war machine from a bygone age, the Rampart has wandered from the ruins of destroyed Osvangard to find a new mission to fulfill. It does so using a diverse arsenal fit for any mission, whether it be asset protection, target elimination, or crowd suppression. With proper support and a keen mind guiding its will, the Rampart can take control of any battlefield. Next up, the blacksmith. With ancient body and deteriorating mind, it would be easy to dismiss the Rampart as a forgotten relic of a more primitive age. But that is the last mistake of many of its foes will ever make. Its complex armaments and heavy plate armor make this brutal machine both an unstoppable force and an immovable object. I ain't gonna lie, even if this thing was couple 100 years old, if I saw this big hulking thing moving with a fucking cannon on its arm and a big shield on its other arm, I would turn away immediately. I'm just saying. Of all the things that exist in the dungeons, that is one scary motherfucker. Alright, survivalist. Age is the affliction of that all things living or machine must bear, and Rampart knows this better than most as an amalgam of both. Sturdy construction and countless years of experience make it easy for the Rampart to maintain its gargantuan form, even as it serves as guardian, instructor, and caregiver alike for its more mortal companions. So, Osvin, or Bismarck, is pretty much like a cyborg machine with, like, I think it has eldritch machinations kind of working in the background. Let's see. I don't know how to pronounce German. I'm not even going to try. So those are his weapon and armor names. So, how is this dude and what is his skill kit? First, I'm going to go through his base stats and all that stuff. He has 63 max HP, 20 dodge, which is actually pretty decent, 6 crit, 9 and 18 damage, 6 speed. So his base stats are pretty decent all around. His resistances are pretty damn nice too. Stun resistance of 50, a move resistance of 40, 40% blight, 40% bleed. Disease is kind of bottom of the barrel. Pretty decent debuff. Well, yeah, it's pretty decent. So he's got some decent resistances across the board. But basically 110, 100, yeah, it's pretty nice. Now, Bismarck, like I said, operates in protocols. But adaptive assault can be used in all 4 protocols, no matter what. So adaptive assault, when you use this when he's not in the protocol, he's kind of what you call in boot up stage or a neutral stance. If he uses either Iron Curtain, Excessive Force, and I think Sonic Suppression, he enters one of his 3 protocols. Unless you have his Color Madness trinket, then he activates Apocalypse protocol. But adaptive assault is special in that whenever he's in his neutral stance, you activate that and he goes into a random protocol of your choosing. It's a forward 105 accuracy, 7 crit. In neutral stance, enter a random protocol minus 50% damage modifier. Now, the adaptive assault has different effects depending on the protocol it's in. In Conservator, he clears debuffs on himself. In Terminator Protocol, 100% armor piercing. Regulator, he knocks him back. And in Apocalypse Protocol, he de-stresses by 9. Very good. Pretty decent damage. It's neutral damage all around. Especially in Terminator with that 100% armor piercing with 9 to 18. They're going to hurt. They're going to hurt pretty good. Plus, it's usable anywhere and only hits enemies 1 and 2, but you can use this from positions 3 and 4. It's mostly in lieu to the fact that he doesn't have any move skills. He doesn't have a move skill. It's a free guard. So adaptive assault is just there to like be a basic bonk, move forward 1, and with a certain trinket, you can get some work out of this because the trinket ramps up the damage of adaptive assault pretty damn well. But when you use adaptive assault with that trinket, it debuffs it by like minus 100% damage dealt, basically. So you bank on that big, massive damage boost. But I'll cover that later. Now we have Iron Curtain. This is his main form to activate Conservator protocols, which is focused on guarding and protection. So basically asset protection. Now, Conservator Protocol, buff target 25% stress heal received, buff self 25% prot. Amazing. Now, in Conservator Protocol, this turns into stress minus 8, clear the horror effect, and plus 100 stress healing done if their stress is above 75. It's just a simple stress heal. That's it. Pretty much really good. It's even better of a stress heal when you keep using it on the same person you buffed initially, and if they're already about ready to pop with their stress, like above 75. So pretty good for maintaining everything. His next skill in Conservator Protocol is Hold the Line. This is a 110 accuracy, minus 75% damage, frontline cleave, usable in positions 1 and 2. 5% crit modifier. When he is in Conservator Protocol, it's the only time you can use it. Activates Repulse, debuff the target minus 20% damage. A frontal cleave, minus 20% damage. Wait, no. The debuff, whenever he gets hit, he debuffs No, it's not a debuff. I'm stupid. Sorry, I had a mental lapse. His riposte is minus 20% damage. Or is it debuffing the target? I don't know now. Okay, I took a minute to kind of look in the files. Yeah, it debuffs the target from, you know, minus 20% damage to whoever he hits. So I read that right. And he buffs self 20 accuracy for crit. Now, if I'm understanding this right, this is a full damage riposte. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, next we have excessive force. This is his primary means of entering Terminator Protocol. This can be used in positions 1 through 4, hits enemies positions 2 through 4. So no position 1 targeting. It basically, he raises his arm, targets them first, and then he starts blasting like Mega Man style. 120 accuracy, minus 100% damage modifier. That's just for the mark. So it marks the target, enter protocol, and debuffs the target plus 12% crits received. Very nice. I love crit fishing. I just love crit fishing. Best way to stress heal other than using an adjuster is getting crits. Now in Terminator Protocols, the accuracy dips down to 110 with only a minus 25% damage, with a positive 9% crit and 80% damage versus marked. Mwah. Pretty much Arbalest damage right there. Just, you can get some pretty good snipes off with this. So, Terminator Protocols turns the Rampart from asset protection into a mark killing machine. Very good at just eliminating targets straight up. His next skill that he can use in Terminator Protocol is Explosive Recoil. Usable in positions 1 and 2. Quad AoE, just straight up, and it's a back one, 110 accuracy, minus 75% damage, 6% crit. In Terminator Protocol, this has 200% damage if the enemy's HP is below 33%. So, it's a quad AoE execution skill. Very nice. And it clears all corpses. Just, why not? Just clears all the fucking corpses. Who needs corpses? Not this guy. Now, I'll cover the Apocalypse Protocol in a second. Next, we have his final protocol. Well, before we get to Apocalypse. Sonic Suppression. Now, the initial skill is 115 accuracy, doesn't do damage, and it debuffs the target, minus 25% stun and move resistance, minus 5 speed. In regular protocol, which is pretty much riot control, kind of debuffing the enemy, just, it's exactly what it sounds like, crowd control. So the initial hit when you enter regular protocols, you're debuffing one target, minus 25 stun and move resistance, and minus 5 speed. That is huge. If there is one stupid enemy you really just want to make their day a living hell, if you land that stun resistance debuff, that is going to be nice. Now in regular protocols, it's I can't talk. Now when it's in regular protocol, you are now shuffling a target for 3 freaking rounds, and you bypass and break guard. Also, you just make sure that target cannot be guarded anymore, with a 500% debuff chance of, okay, break guard, break, bypass, break it, they can't be guarded. You can break a couple modded enemies that kind of rely on that, and do all kinds of things. It's really nice. Now, I'll be honest, Sonic Suppression is not the most pressed button for me in regular protocols. It's kind of the least used protocol, but in the certain situations where you just really want to fuck over a certain asshole enemy composition, this is great for that. Now, the second skill in his regular protocol, Regulator Protocol, is Riot Control. 110 accuracy, minus 175% damage, plus 6% crit, usable in positions 1 and 2, reoccurring theme with him. Hits enemies 2 through 4, and it's a stun. with a accuracy debuff attached to it. Very nice. And it can hit the back line. Now, you go Sonic Suppression into Ride Control, that can get some fucking work done. And I'm not gonna lie, using this along with the Fire Mode Dredge with their Riot Control, you can get some fucking work done with these dudes. This Osvinger team, just to break habit or just deviate slightly, this Osvinger team with Slayer, Fire Dredge, and Monitor, very freaking effective. Very, very, very effective. Anyways, and then his final skill is Reboot. Enters boot up, he debuffs himself, 20% damage taken, so you really, 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 really want to kind of commit to the protocol that you're in. So the Rampart does lose a little bit effectiveness in longer fights if you mistime or misplay what protocol you want him to be in. Typically, I try to choose 2 of his 3 that I want to focus a team around and play mostly into those. If I'm going to be using him as a support, I'll focus on Conservator and Regulator. If I want him to be a killer, I'll focus on Terminator and Regulator. Or Terminator and Conservator. And that usually, his protocols kind of influence what trinkets I take with him a lot of the time. And his own trinkets, or I don't have them all in this save, unfortunately, I would cover them. But his trinkets do affect how he kind of performs. Now, you do want to give him a little bit of accuracy. I've had times where I've marked something and then I miss his Terminator, his, excessive force shot. That feels really bad. But the dude has a free action guard. And the free action guard with Conservator Protocol, ooh, his riposte is nice. I really love Conservator Protocol over his other 2. Now, don't get me wrong, Regulator is freaking effective when you need it to be effective. So, let's go over his camp skills. It will not die. Time cost 3. Self, 25% HP heal, 25% healing received, and remove mortality debuffs. Solid. It's a self heal. It clears mortality debuffs. If he hits Death's Door for any reason, this is lovely. Not much to say about it. Reconfigure protocols. Self only. 15% debuff skill chance, 4 battles. Crit receive chance, minus 6% if in Conservator. 10 accuracy if in Terminator. So this is really good for paying the accuracy tax. About this issue I talked about earlier is massively mitigated with this camp skill alone. And it's only a 3 time cost. So that 10 accuracy for Terminator is huge. 2 speed if in Regulator. For a stun bot, if you use them as such, that 2 speed is very nice. And then minus 50% stress inflicted on the party if in Apocalypse mode. Okay, I'll get to Apocalypse mode in a minute. Decades of War, time cost 4. Self only, 5% crit versus human, 8 accuracy versus beast, armor piercing 15 versus unholy, minus 20% stress versus eldritch, and then 1 companion, same thing, 5% crit versus human, 8 accuracy versus beast, 15% armor piercing versus unholy, and minus 20% stress versus eldritch. Kind of like a situational buff against certain enemy factions, which the buffs you get for them are pretty relevant. This, that, and the other. I really like the crit for human because you just go into the Warrens and just slaughter the fucking Warrens like nothing. This is a Warren's skill, basically. But anyways, Decades of War. It's pretty good. He's using his ancient knowledge, teaching people. He's like, alright, hey, this is how you take care of this, this, and this. And then the Kaiser Guard's Vigil. 20% prot when guarding. Nice. Prevents nighttime ambush. 4 time costs, 20% prot when he's guarding. Reminder, he has a free action guard. You can throw that up anytime you need it. And I think he already buffs himself with, yeah, he already buffs himself with his guard another 20% prot. Let me check the mod page real quick. Bastion replaces move. No, it does not buff himself. What am I thinking that buffs him 20% prot? Is it Conservator? I think it's Conservator I'm thinking of. Yeah, Iron Curtain. Okay, so if you use this with Iron Curtain, he gets like almost like 40-50% freaking prot. So 25%, you get 45% prot with a camp skill and one use of Iron Curtain. That's pretty damn good. So anyways, this guy, you kind of either throw him into a team that needs a fourth dude, or you throw him in a team and build around him. The only thing he can't do is like heal you. He can kill, he can crowd control, he can provide guard support, he can act as a man-at-arms without the, you know, dodge cheese with bolster, stuff like that, but he can clear corpses, he can stun, he can disrupt, he can break guard, bypass guard, blah. He's freaking great. I really, really love this big, massive, absolute unit. And his animations are really well done. I mean, look at him. You can see him breathe in, breathe out. His entire body shudders. You can see the impact of that armor, the heft behind that beast of a machine. And the sound effects he puts out are freaking really nice too. Like I said, I love this dude. I really, really love this dude. Now, let's cover the elephant in the room. Apocalypse Protocol. Ta-da-da! Turns out I can cover some of his trinkets. I just don't have his Crimson Court trinkets. Unfortunately, I'll have to get that at some point. But let's go over his commons real fast. Veil of Martyrs. On friendly skill above target 10 accuracy. Very good if you want to put him in a more support role. When hit, self 5 stress, which is kind of normal for like Thrall. That 5 stress can add up really quick if he has any debuffs or other trinkets that increase stress amount received, but it should be manageable. And when he is hit, other people heal 2 stress, which is pretty nice. This is a good trinket to kind of pair with Conservator mode. Now his other comment. Now this one's a little risky. You're getting 10% max HP and -2 speed. Now, friendly skill, he heals himself 15% max HP, and he blights himself 1 for 3 rounds. And on top of that, every time he uses a friendly skill, he's increasing the self-blight chance and the 100% blight amount each time he uses a friendly skill. But that's each time he uses a friendly skill. This is, like I said, a risky trinket, but if you're ending fights quickly and constantly and got a dot cure on your party or something like that, this can be pretty damn good. Hyper Acceleration Stimulants is uncommon. 100% stress heal on crit. Crits receive chance -10% when acting first. 10% crit when acting first. 10% damage received when not acting first. On being hit, +1 speed for 2 battle rounds. Pretty good. So basically this is leaning into giving him crit fishing capabilities, more crit heals on, well, more stress hitting on his crits, and if he's not going first, he's going to take a little bit more damage, but 10% ain't the biggest, it's not the biggest downside, especially when you're getting 10 crit when he does go first, and he does have 6 speed, so it's not hard to bump his speed up to make sure he goes first. Yeah, pretty good. Next, Visage of Violence. This is my favorite trinket Viz. 5% prot per 20% missing HP. On friendly skill, mark self. 1 battle. This leans into him using Terminator mode, or leaning into him using his riposte. On being hit, buff self. Adaptive Assault plus 20% damage. On Adaptive Assault hit, debuff self minus 100% damage. If you're using him as a riposte bot, this can really ramp up fast because he is marking himself. You're guarding another target that increases the likelihood of him getting targeted by an attack by at least 2 of the 4 targets on your party that can be hit. And if you know Darkest Dungeon enough, you know which enemies can target which ranks. So yeah, it's very nice. Visage of Violence, I've had Adaptive Assault hit for like 40, 50, even 60 damage on some cracked out occasions. Especially when I've been buffing them with vapors, for example, and other outside sources. So yeah, Visage of Violence is a pretty damn good trinket, I would say. One of my favorites. Then we have Emergency Hemodialyzer. Dialyzer? Very rare. Plus 30% healing received while blighted, 25% prot while bleeding, 50% bleed and blight duration received. Bleed and blight duration received does not apply to transfer blights and bleeds. On friendly skill, transfer bleed and blight from target to self. On reboot, clear blight and bleed. So you can use this alongside, say, Corroded Facade, stuff like that. This is good for having him to be a kind of a dot cleanser in a roundabout way. And whenever he's bleeding and blighted, he gets benefits for it. One of his risky playstyles, but hey, it's a pretty damn good trinket too. Now, his Color of Madness trinket, Apocalypse Protocol. But first, let's cover the trinket itself. 10 accuracy per 50 stress, 20% max HP if afflicted, minus 33% stress if afflicted. On being hit, reminder, he can only afflict, he cannot virtue. On being hit, self if stress below 100, incurable horror for 3 rounds. 5 points for 3 rounds, so that's 15 stress. Pretty devastating. On entering protocol while afflicted, enter Apocalypse Protocol instead. Bastion, cooldown removed if in Apocalypse Protocol. On Bastion, if in Apocalypse Protocol, self incurable horror, 5 points for 3 rounds. Now, for Adaptive Assault, Apocalypse Protocol heals his stress. So he has Adaptive Assault, Explosive Recoil, and Riot Control in Apocalypse Protocol. Explosive Recoil now debuffs the target if they're marked. Minus 20% prot if marked. Debuff target per 150 stress. Minus 6 accuracy, minus 6 dodge. And finally, Control, Apocalypse Protocol is still a stun. Pull 1 per 50 stress. That's Apocalypse Protocol. Pretty much it turns them into to be honest, I actually haven't used Apocalypse Protocol all that much. But basically, it's another way of playing him. And he turns into a accuracy. He pays his accuracy tax, and he has even more HP. He wants to be afflicted. He uses the affliction super critical. I think super critical kind of buffs him in a way, but he acts out a little bit more, and he really hurts your party. Kind of like a thrall situation, basically. But basically, it's a risky playstyle. You want to play into that, lean into it, have some fun. Now, all that said, I do believe Cryptics knocked it out of the park with this guy. Soggy Pizza had some really great artwork. Cryptics did some very fun design here. I just love Bismarck. Now, I'm going to do a showcase of Bismarck and the other Osllinger heroes that I have in this party, but there's not going to be any commentary. I hope you guys are okay with that, but that'll be all for the Rampart showcase. I kind of dived a little bit deeper than I normally do. I could have dived a little bit more deeper, say what Super Critical does, but I didn't really see any information on it in the mod page. So, I'm not going to worry about it. I just presented the public-facing information as best I can. And if you guys like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and all that YouTube jazz, and hope you enjoy the gameplay. And Cryptics, thank you for making this mod. Thank you to all the people that have worked on this in the past and all that stuff. Really cool stuff. The modding scene for Darkest Dungeon 1 is spectacular, and I hope it continues on for another 4 years, 4, 5, 6, however many years, as long as these people are still churning out stuff. Darkest Dungeon 1's been out for 10 years, and there's still quality stuff coming out these days. We just had the Pelagic Idol release like less than a week ago, for example. We had 2 classes released on Halloween. It's insane, man. It is absolute insane. Anyways, take care. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.
To a killing blow. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Precision and power. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. singular strike. Inspiration and improvement. Obliterated. Gnawing uncertainty. The birthplace of dread. Eradicated. Annihilated. Success so clearly in view. Or is it? Disadvantage. Give them no quarter. Masterfully executed. triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall. The ground quakes. Well struck. Creatures can be felled, they can be beaten. Impressive. A time to perform beyond one's limits. The end approaches. Devastating blow. decisive pummeling.